Architecture failed, and AI is here actually to solve it. So since I decided to pursue a career in architecture, it has been really common for me to listen to certain types of questions. Like, how do you plan on paying your bills? Or how do you even intend to have a comfortable life? Even my own relatives, who are themselves architects, aren't really the positive on my decision. But to be honest, I cannot blame them. Take a look at this table behind me. It shows the average wages for some professions that require a degree in the US. You can clearly see here doctors, lawyers, and there, architects at the rock bottom. What really bothers me is that even though architects are relatively underpaid, they are still considered by the society as really expensive. So much so that more than 80% of the houses in Brazil and 90% of the houses in the US weren't planned by actual architects. And the main reason for that, normally overlooked by the society, is how much time it actually takes to make an architectural project. This is the part of an architect's work recognized by the society. That is, making your house pretty, which may take from 4 to 6 weeks, probably a month. But that's the actual architect's work, which includes making your house pretty, but also includes site analysis, integration of electrical and structural systems, and even some permits and approvals. Overall, it may take from 30 to 46 weeks, or even more, who knows. My point here is that architectural projects take way longer to be completed than people expect them to, in a way that may lead to the undervaluing of the profession, since people don't recognize the huge amount of work that architects need to put into the projects to get them done. But let me stop just talking and give you guys a practical example. Let's imagine that an architect will dedicate himself into a project for 2 hours a day, working around for 6 days a week for 6 months, earning around $50 an hour, which is a low hourly rate when compared to other professions in the US. Overall, the project will cost $15,600. Is it a lot of money? For sure. Is the architect really profiting that much? Not really, because all of this money is diluted over months and months and months of hard work. This whole situation leaves architects in a dangerous position, which I call the architecture cycle. Basically, since projects take a long time to be completed, they become expensive in a way that aren't many people willing to pay for them. As a consequence, architects need to lower their hourly rate, and therefore they need to take home more projects to pay their bills. But not many people are willing to pay for these projects since they are expensive, so the architect needs to lower his hourly rate again and again and again. At the end, you have an entire profession undervalued and unaffordable at the same time. For this reason, I can confidently say that architecture has failed. Not because it lacks importance, but because it became unreachable, both for the professionals and for the clients. And not only the architects feel the consequences of this problem, society pays the price too. If architecture remains a luxury, the majority of the people will continue to live in poorly designed, uncomfortable, and inefficient spaces, while cities continue to expand without proper planning and aesthetic care. Imagine how much more beautiful our cities would be if everyone could afford to pay for an architect to materialize their creativity in their own houses. Or imagine how much more energy efficient our homes would be if they were built taking into consideration wind flow, sun position, and seasonal temperatures. Imagine how much lower your electricity bill would be if you didn't need to use air conditioning 24 hours a day. That's when artificial intelligence appears. And even though most architects disagree with me because they believe that AI is going to make the profession worse than it already is, that these robots are going to replace them, what if I told you that these evil robots are actually going to save the profession? And look, I get this architects. Every time a disruptive technology comes along, people tend to panic. Back in the Industrial Revolution, for example, workers literally destroyed machines terrified that they'll lose their jobs. But here's the thing. Nowadays, even with the machines, we're still employed, but employed in better jobs with better salaries, better working hours, and a better overall quality of life. So why would it be different with AI? Hear me out. My whole point until now was that the main reason why architecture is failing is because of how time consuming it is to get architectural projects done. The problem is that architects waste almost half of their working time only taking care of abstract regulations and procedures. But what if we could leave all of this bureaucratic stuff for AI and leave the creativity part to the architects? In that way, projects could take months less. And if projects take less time, they become more affordable in a way that there are enough people willing to pay for them. And as a consequence, architects don't need to lower their hourly rate, and therefore, architects finally profit. We could finally break the architecture cycle. But what if I told you that this is already happening? Take a look at a startup called TestFit. It is used in the early stages of real estate development. You just input the shape of your lot, zoning regulations, parking requirements, and building type, and in seconds, its artificial intelligence generates dozens of optimized building layouts. It considers sunlight, accessibility, and even flood vulnerability of the building, things that will take weeks to figure out manually. In the past, you would need an entire team of architects and some weeks to get this done. Now, you only need a computer and some seconds. That doesn't mean that architects are no longer necessary. It just frees them from repetitive tasks in a way that lets them focus their work and time on bringing more creativity and innovation to their projects. But that's not the only example. Recently, many famous architectural firms have been implementing artificial intelligence into their work in order to make it more efficient. Some of these tools may work at the scale of a single home, while others are capable of redesigning entire neighborhoods. Big, for example, used Delve in order to speed up the process of the Toronto Quayside development, represented in this picture right behind me. Other firms, though, prefer to create their own artificial intelligences in order to make them match perfectly the company needs. For this one, I'll mention Zaha Hadid Architects with Code. All of these companies, by implementing AI, are making their work more efficient and therefore more affordable. And the benefits of affordable architecture are countless. For example, nowadays, with climate change and rising global temperatures, it has become clear to the world who is the most affected by it: people in poverty. For this reason, I want you guys to take a look at this land surface temperature map of Phoenix, a city in the United States. Notice that these bluish colors represent milder temperatures and reddish colors represent hotter temperatures. But what I really want you guys to notice is this red and orange region right here. It is the poorest region in the whole metropolitan area. It's there where people cannot afford to have their houses properly planned, and therefore they lack thermal comfort. But imagine if everyone could renovate their houses into being more temperature efficient, in a way that all of this map could turn blue. AI may also help entire populations during crisis. For example, recently it has become common to see news about people losing their homes in California due to wildfires. And some companies, such as Reframe Systems, have been using AI in order to deliver entire houses in weeks for these displaced families. By automating processes such as the creation of blueprints, they had made it possible to deliver entire houses in weeks, faster than ever, in a way that lessens the suffering of all of the suffered families. With AI, we can make more affordable housing. We can democratize beautiful and efficient design. We can finally break the architecture cycle. Thank you.